Greetings, greetings. My name is Joel Mejia, and I am a board member of the Kingston Food Co-op, and I'm here to present a proof of concept, something we're currently calling the mini market. And my role for the last year has been to provide support and technical assistance to our vendor relations work. And maybe 6 months ago or less, I joined the board. And over the summer, we worked with members of the community in working groups to do a couple of things. One of them was to figure out ways to do more community engagement, and another was to figure out how to use bulk buying to provide food to the people and provide really good food to the people at an affordable price. So at that point, we were calling it the Buying Club. But what we worked on over the summer has led to this presentation. And so I'm excited to share that with you. And I wanted to start with first grounding around the mission of the food co-op and ensuring that we have a shared understanding of what it is that the food co-op is meant to do in Kingston. And one of those things is building a community-owned grocery store that's built around food and our shared goal of creating a thriving and equitable local food system that really is representative of the people and the abundance of Kingston. And we also know that our community members, we want a one-stop shop where we can fulfill our grocery needs and not have to travel outside of Kingston. We know that our community values transparency, where the food comes from, and we know that the community wants to support a regenerative local economy, and that together we're creating a stronger community through food. So with that being said, I want to introduce the mini market concept, and I want to do that through the eyes of these fictional characters that hopefully help transmit what this proof of concept is about. So we have Juan, Anne, and Jamie as our fictional characters to hopefully help us visualize what this mini market could look like here in Kingston. So what is it that the mini market offers? Why does it matter? It matters because it's meant to offer an antidote to high prices. It is meant to answer the need and the desire for fresh produce, for high quality products, and the idea of reducing waste is really, really important, and why we think this mini market will be a valuable asset to the community and as we grow to a full-scale grocery store. So through the eyes of Juan, right, why does it matter? This matters because Juan lives with roommates, he shares cooking responsibilities, and is looking for a way to really stretch his budget, just like all of us, right? Living with roommates because you can't afford the rent by yourself. You all share cooking because food is really expensive, and you're used to certain staples like rice, beans, olive oil. So we want to be able to use this mini market to meet some of Juan's needs and his roommates' needs, really. And then we have Anne and Jamie, who represent a couple who are used to spending a little bit of money for healthy foods, but like anyone else, would love to save some money and stretch their dollars and find something local where they can shop and not have to go to Mother Earth or Adams. Just want to buy some of this stuff locally. If you could save some money, that would be great as well. So that's Juan and Anne and Jamie, right? So one of the things that we're working with is something that the Park Slope Food Co-op does. Not every food co-op does this, but what we're experimenting with and want to figure out is how can members do time investments in order to, again, keep the prices low. So something like 3 hours a month could help keep those prices low. If we have enough members contributing to that, then we could really sustain that and not put a burden on members who really don't have that amount of time. The more folks are participating in that, the more we can save and the more we could spread that out, which would be a benefit to everyone. And this is another concept that we're really pushing forward with this mini market, which is the path to worker ownership. Some of you may know that this co-op of ours, the Kingston Food Co-op, is a hybrid co-op. It is both a consumer co-op and a worker co-op. What we've had over the last few years is a real development of the consumer co-op side and real engagement by those folks. And what we're pushing now with this mini market is, well, we need to create a worker owner class as well so that we can also have full participation in this from both the consumers and the workers who will be in charge of the operations of this mini market. I'm sorry if my face was in the way here. That helps. So all of the shoppers can become worker owners. There's a whole process that we're developing on how to do that, but it's really exciting to share that with the community, that we're working on a worker ownership path. All right, so let's go to the next slide. So why are we doing this? Well, because what this visual shows us is that really a small group of corporations owns our food system. If you look at the brands that are owned by Nestle or Kraft or Coca-Cola, they make up the majority of the shelf space in supermarkets. So what does this imply? What does this do to local economies? What does this do to choice? What does this do to our health, right? So if you've never seen this, then this is an important thing to open your eyes to. A small group of companies control our food system. And these companies aren't always ethically sourcing, paying their workers, paying farmers, or taking care of the environment. So with that being said, what we want to be able to do is look at some of these effects, right? What is the impact of grocery monopolies on our communities? Well, for one, you're going to get rising food prices. If you haven't noticed in the last few years, prices have gone up, right? Not only do we have less choices, but then the prices go up. How does that work, right? So we also have, again, limited access to really healthy foods because these corporations control the food supply, right? And so when we go to the supermarket, it might say all kinds of, might use fancy language that gives you the indication that it's healthy, but if you actually look at the products, they're really not, right? So yes, this is all going to have a negative impact on the local economy because then the local producers can't compete with that, right? Local producers can't compete with Walmart and the prices that they have there, because Walmart is pushing their farmers, paying them a lot less, right? And a lot of times, yeah, they have some organic stuff, but you're paying a lot for that, right? And then small businesses that work with local food, right, can't compete either. So you have this effect where the lack of competition, the lack of competition and resources really stifle local producers and small businesses. All right, and on top of that, the consumer choice, right? There's all kinds of amazing artisans in the Hudson Valley that create specialty products. Hard to compete again. And even some of these local makers, make kimchi or other products, really hard for them to compete. So some of this work, some of the antidotes that we're saying, right? It's all about the cooperative advantage, right? We want the benefits to be for the entire community. We want profits to stay in the community, right? So that's why the bulk buying option, the refillery section, and all the local produce at discounted prices is what's going to make the difference here for not only the consumer, but we're also talking about the workers, right? The community-owned model creates an opportunity for all of us, right, to operate the most vital community resource we could probably think of, right, which is food, right? Where do we get our food? How do we make sure the food isn't poisoning us? Well, if we own the grocery store, if we own the point of distribution, then we understand where it's getting sourced, right? And we can decide what producers we want to work with and what producers we don't want to work with. And again, strengthening the local economy is what this is about. We're not going to buy lettuce from California. We're not going to buy apples from out of state, right? Dairy, local, all kinds of stuff that we can get local. We're in a resource-rich area. We just have to funnel that down to our local economy instead of these large corporations, right? I hope I'm making the case, because we also want to empower worker owners. The folks that are going to be working at this store should own their labor, right? They should be able to govern themselves and come to the table and meet with consumers and discuss what's happening and advocate for great working conditions, but also listen to the consumers if they have feedback, if they want the store to be operated better, all kinds of stuff. That's why the hybrid model is what we want to start practicing. And we want to take this opportunity to work with community members who will use this as a way to create equity and wealth for themselves that may or may not be available now. So what we know as well is that it's been a push to revitalize Midtown Kingston, but we know that gentrification is a real thing that we want to try to avoid. And gentrification that leads to displacement is definitely something we want to avoid, right? So what are we doing? We're partnering with CCE. The pop-up shop that they currently operate, which is slightly underused, we would take over that space for a year, maybe two, and use that as a real proof of concept for the mini market and as a stepping stone, right? That community at CCE, which I'm a part of, I have two daughters, we feel that that is a great place to use to educate the community, not only around all these concepts that I've shared, but bring folks together, especially using the space for multi-use, to educate, to do cooking classes, right? And also recruit whoever is going to be part of the jobs training program. So we feel like there's a lot of opportunity to work with CCE and other partners as well. But that would be our anchor partner for this mini market. We want to make sure that what we come up with is flexible and that folks feel that this is accessible regardless of income. There will be some economic participation. That's just part of the cooperative principles. But again, we won't make it where it's not accessible to all. And we want items that reflect the cultural diversity of Kingston. We want all kinds of people to shop here, but we know we're trying to also keep the selection limited and to staples, right? But there are staples that, right, like rice, lots of cultures eat rice. Beans, lots of cultures eat beans. So we can come together and educate each other on multi-uses of these products that we'd be selling at the market. So there'll be opportunity for dinners, all kinds of stuff. And most importantly, we want to be able to train people and give people an opportunity to level up, skill up, and own their business, right? Own their labor. And hopefully folks can stay in the community because they're earning good wages and the community is reciprocating that back, you know? So this is part of how we feel we're going to prevent the displacement that gentrification causes and create an opportunity for the community to own, right? Community-owned real estate is a huge part of preventing gentrification and displacement as well. So we want to work with those partners in this solidarity economy that's emerging, right? Because we want to prevent displacement. We want long-term Kingston residents to stay in Kingston and not only shop but earn income from this. You know, it's definitely possible. So what is this chapter, right? What does it represent? What it represents is an opportunity to put into action some of our values, right? So one of the values that we have is reducing waste, right? So a refillery section, that's what it does. It prevents waste, but also helps customers take what they need from a really high quality place. It's not going to be low quality, and you're going to be able to get just what you need, you know, at your price point, right? And the ability to have pre-made foods, right? So like if you have a busy schedule too, when you can't cook that day or that week, we'll be able to supply you with some pre-made foods that are delicious. All right, so moving on, one of the most loved supermarkets in the United States is Trader Joe's. Why are they so loved? Well, I did a little deep dive, and I wanted to share what I learned and how I think we can apply some of that to this mini market, right? So Trader Joe's is small, but it's really efficient in the way the store is operated, right? If you've ever been to a Trader Joe's, most of them are the same size. Very small selection compared to other big supermarkets, but that selection is super high quality, and for some reason that I'll explain later, it's affordable, right? So how do they do that? How do they make it affordable? They have really key supply chain relationships. So like they work directly with farmers, they work directly with processors and producers. And what the producers and farmers do is that they provide it to Trader Joe's as a white label or private label, and Trader Joe's just puts their name on it, right? And so what Trader Joe's is able to do is provide a lot of flexibility to the customer. If certain products aren't selling, they're able to switch it up very quickly and work with their producers to maximize returns on products that are really popular, right? So these are three things that I really think we can apply at the mini market level, right? So here is a blueprint of CCE's pop-up shop, and I started adding some images where I think we can locate some of these features of the mini market, right? So down here you have your produce section, which is like right in the middle. And so if you're not familiar with the pop-up shop, this up here is Cedar, right, to the street. And then back here, this exit is a parking lot. And we're envisioning potentially outside in the spring having more of this produce, right, because there'll be more selection and we'll be able in the warmer months to put stuff outside. So we could essentially increase our space, but for the winter, we have most of the bulk buying happening either here, which is where you can see that, you know, it's a bulk buying section here with some of the staples, beans, rice, nuts, spices. And then you have somewhere in the corner here, the refillery section. And you could see some images here that show you how we may stack up the shelves, but we're also looking at modular designs where, let's say, the checking out section has wheels and can be moved, and there's shelves under it. Maybe there's a self-checkout. So still experimenting with different things. But again, with your help, we can come up with a really workable design that can meet all our needs. So just to come back around to Juan and his journey, right? So Juan, again, never heard of food co-ops, doesn't have much experience joining a co-op, bulk buying, or anything like that, but comes to a meeting and is completely just curious and excited and decides to join, right? After becoming a member, he sees, again, savings, right? He's sharing some of the staples with his roommates. He's getting stuff like detergent, olive oil, stuff that he needs just exactly. He's not used to filling his own bottles up, but he's loving it. After a few months, right, his roommates and him are just loving it. Everything is cheaper. They're not having all this prepackaged stuff and just getting exactly what they need because, they're just trying to stretch their income. They're not making that much, right? But one of the things that really is a beautiful outcome, right, is that folks are learning about what it is to buy what you need without excess, right? Folks are learning about, oh, what's a co-op? I see, got it. I didn't never heard of it, never used that language, but it does remind me of back home, in Latin American countries. I've experienced this. I'm Dominican. Folks bring their jars, they go to the local bodega and they fill up their oils, they get a pound of beans. This is common, and supermarkets are pretty new. So folks, once they experience it, they realize, oh, I've done this before, and that's what we want. But what's new is, well, Juan is so interested, he wants to actually become a worker owner, right? And joins the training program, and next thing you know, he's a worker owner. Something that he never realized he would do, but it made perfect sense, right? Maybe he already had a job working at a supermarket, and this is better. This is offering more benefits. Obviously, you own part of the grocery store that you work at. So we think this will be like a really great success story coming out of this mini market, where we have 3 or 4 worker owners that enjoy their job, but also are owners, shared leadership, shared ownership. That would be amazing. So Anne and Jamie, they're a little bit more familiar with co-ops. Maybe they already had been part of another co-op, but when they moved to Kingston, they just had to sort of bite the bullet and go to Mother Earth or go to Adams. But what they're really looking for is something local where they can eat healthy, and if it could save them some money, that would be great too. So they found that the mini market really offered them that, right? And so they're not only buying fresh produce, but they're buying pre-made soups and salads and other meals because sometimes they just can't cook. And so not only are these meals delicious, but, right, they know where this money is going. Maybe they've met Juan. Maybe Juan is already a worker owner and they love the environment at the food co-op, the mini market, right? So this is all just fitting into their lifestyle really nicely, right? And they see the savings in action, right? They know that they're saving money by not having prepackaged products that they buy all the time, right? So they get it. So we want to make sure that the outcome, right, is relevant, right? That they're eating healthy meals but not overspending, right? Again, the mission is to create relationships through food, right? With this focus on sustainability, and folks will know the vendors that we're sourcing from. right? So that'll be another feature that we bring in is presentations by the vendors and get to know the farmers, right? These events where we can bring everyone together and learn from each other, really, because that's what it's going to be ultimately about. So how will the mini market work for current and new members, right? This is all still in proposal. We're still designing all this, but this is an idea that we're working with, right? So for current members, what this would represent is an upgrade, right? So currently you have membership shares, right? You're a consumer member with your share, and that has certain rights and responsibilities. What this would be a separate program that you would become a member of. And the purpose of that is not only to establish some additional economic participation, but the annual membership fee is meant to subsidize the training program that we want to run for worker co-ops, and also create another opportunity for the mini market to be self-sufficient and not rely on grants, right? The economic participation helps us diversify our income, create a fund for job training, and also it's an opportunity for us, if I mentioned this already, diversify our income. I may have mentioned that. But it's an important thing that we're still working through, and that we haven't quite decided how much is the annual, will there be different tiers. But again, we're still figuring that out. For new members, there's an idea floating around that you would have a dual membership. So for one price, you would also pay for your consumer share and your mini market membership, right? Which would be what we're playing around with is an annual membership. And again, you can join the mini market and not be a consumer owner and shop, right? And test out this whole concept. And if you're interested, then you can become a consumer owner or a worker owner. But the idea is that this mini market would be a member only member market, right? And hopefully that would make sense for folks. And again, we're making this as accessible as possible. So income should not be a restriction, but there will be some economic participation there. So why get involved? Because you want to be part of something cool. You want to be part of developing this community-driven mini market and creating this worker ownership class. And really, this is one of the boldest experiments happening in our food system here in Kingston. So why not get involved, right? So who should join? Current members should join, new members, and outside community members, including partners. We want to work with a cross-section of Kingston, but we definitely want to encourage current members who've been waiting for a grocery store to be part of this as well. But we're reaching out to new folks all the time, Spanish speakers, other community members, to help us think this through, because together we can create something equitable if we do it with as much representation as possible. What we want to focus on in the working groups is the mini market operations, the worker ownership pathway, and build in community engagement, right? So that we have as much participation and feedback from the community in this stage as possible, so that we feel really good about launching anything, right? That we have real buy-in from the community. What's in it for you? Again, you'll be on the ground floor of a pioneering project, developing your leadership skills, your cooperative governance skills, and you're truly going to contribute to a sustainable and local food system, really, that puts people over profits, which is what we need. So at this point, we'll be meeting every Wednesday between when you see this video, so the beginning, middle of October through the middle of December, from 3 to 6. It'll be probably a combination of in-person, virtual, we'll figure that out as we move through this every week. But the idea is that from 3 to 6 p.m. we'd have this work block that we could work independently, synchronized in groups together, but that there'd be forward motion in developing this mini market so that perhaps we can launch it or announce it in 2025. That would be awesome. And just to close, you can reach out to me at my email, joel@kingstonfoodcoop.com, if you're interested, want to learn more, have any questions. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you and hopefully working with you. So thank you for watching. Really appreciate your time and your desire. And hopefully we'll get a chance to talk soon. Have a great day. Blessings.